Youorns. Greetings for the Watford fans. Omar here, and it's time for the Youorns 10-minute take on Watford 2, West Bromwich Albion 2, a game that really burst to life in the first 23 minutes at the Vic on Wednesday night. It was quite a game considering the wet and windy conditions at the Vic. It really was pretty brutal out there, and you could see that many people decided to stay away and watch this one at home instead. But Watford didn't stay away. They actually came to play very well early on. They did not wait to score very long at all. They scored just 3 minutes in. Tom Ince, his first goal in a Watford shirt, got Watford off and running. But within 15 minutes of that, it was a very different story, because at that moment, Watford were 2-1 down to West Brom. Silly mistakes really did hurt Watford in the first half. Two sloppy mistakes, one of them a free kick after Watford were up 1-0, and Ngaki gave away a free kick right outside the box. Really, I think that was a really big mistake there, because it again goes to discipline. I've talked about this so far, the early days of this season, that Watford's discipline has to be a lot better in these games, and their game management has to be far better as well. Of course, you go back to the Coventry game a few weeks ago, and Watford were leading in that game at the first half, leading 1-0, and then Sierralta gave up a free kick from a longer distance out, but still, it was a free kick that was resulted in a goal, no matter what you say about whether Daniel Batman could have saved it or not. And some people will be complaining about that again with the first goal that West Brom scored, that perhaps Daniel Batman could have been in a better position, whatever. The fact of the matter is, I don't blame Daniel Batman for the goal going in against West Brom, that first one. I blame Jeremy Ngaki for giving up the free kick. You have to manage the phases of play better than that. When you have the 1-0 lead, game management requires that you now look at the next phase of the game and do the things you have to do to prevent the opposition from scoring. Of course, we all know that you're never more vulnerable than when you've just scored a goal. And so Watford, for 15 minutes, were vulnerable. They didn't quite assert complete control over the game. It was a pinball wizard type of game, especially in the first half. And I'm sure Elton John, well, I don't know if Elton John would have really appreciated it, but all I can tell you is that the conditions were such that the conditions dictated the game more than I think the players did. Although Watford, being the home side, had, I think, a better grasp of the conditions, and therefore should have put their imprimatur on this game. Now, it wasn't for a lack of trying. Matthias Martins was terrific, returning to his old electrified self. He was absolutely electric tonight. Just brilliant stuff from him. Asprilla coming off the bench, I thought, was terrific. Kone, who got his first start, as far as I can see this season, maybe his second, but a first start in a midweek game, certainly. Kone was brilliant. I thought Kone was excellent. And Daniel Batman made big saves in this game as well. But Watford's character was the biggest thing about this game, even though I would have loved to see Watford get 3 points in the game. And I did predict in the Tuesday focus that Watford and West Brom would have a 1-1 draw. Well, I was close. It was 2-2. But the bottom line is that Watford did not get over the line quite enough in this one, but their character really did show through. And I think that's what leaves me with a more positive feeling rather than a negative one about this game. Why the character showed through? Well, it's pretty easy. After West Bromwich Albion took the lead with 2 goals in 4 minutes to take a 2-1 lead in that first half, Watford kept going. They did not bow their heads, and they did not resign themselves to defeat. Even early on in this game, they fought back and fought hard. And Matthias Martins, who had come close earlier in the half with a shot, scored a sublime goal to equalize affairs at 2-2. Tom Ince's goal, by the way, to get Watford off to a really fast start, also was really great. Lovely pass, basically passed the ball into the back of the net from around 16 yards out. It was a sublime shot, went straight into the back of the net. Really good stuff from Tom Ince, and I like the way he's playing. He seems to be beginning to find himself as a Watford player on that right side, and he looks really good there. He can have some really good impacts in the game, and I think that he did again in the game against West Brom. But I think the glue in this one were 4 players. One of them was Daniel Backman making some big saves again, particularly in the second half. He made a couple of good saves in the first half as well. Daniel Backman, I think now is really, you really see his confidence developing and his assertiveness is developing as well. And I like to see that. He had a very good game, of course, on a Saturday against Birmingham, and he got the man of the match there from the Orns man of the match. And I think, look, you can make a case for him again in the game against West Brom. He was really important to Watford again, but on this occasion, Watford couldn't get the 3 points. The other people that you really have to look at, as I said, Martins as well was terrific. Kone, I thought, played his best game in a Watford shirt. Outstanding stuff from him, building on his very good performance coming off the bench on Saturday against Birmingham. So he's beginning to grow in confidence. He should have scored twice in this game, by the way. Didn't quite happen for him. There was a sensational save by the West Brom goalkeeper in his second opportunity to score, Kone. And Kone must be still thinking right now, how on earth did that ball not go in? It was a tremendous save by the keeper. I don't know how he saved it, but Kone was absolutely lights out tonight. It was brilliant. Bio coming in, I thought he was effective as well. He works really hard for the team. Rajovic, to me, faded in and out of the game, wasn't a factor for me. Bio is a really hard worker, and he covers a lot more ground than Rajovic does. But the bottom line is that when Val changed to what looked like a 4-4-2, you could see what they were trying to do there, but that relationship needs to develop and grow. And I'm confident that if Val decides to do that more often, you can have something here that could be really good for Watford. I think you've got to switch up the formations every now and again. And I know that Val does that, but I would like to see it more concretely done, maybe from the start of the game. Switcheroo, experiment, see what happens. I mean, it is still early in the season. We're, what, 6 games in or so? And the record for Watford at the minute is 2-2-2, wins 2, defeats 2, and draws 2. So look, you know, it's not the end of the planet at all to try something in this embryonic stage of this new championship season. But look, you've got to like the way that these lads have acquitted themselves. I thought they were very good for the most part. Just the silly mistakes again. They're going to have to be cognizant about their discipline and game management. Those are still the 2 things I think they have to work on. Obviously, the defense will make you nervous. West Bromwich Albion looked very dangerous at times in this game, and there were times where West Brom just cut through Watford's defense and really should have scored. There's at least 2 or 3 chances that West Brom had in the game where they should have scored, and how they didn't, I don't know. Point blank chances, ball going just past a West Brom player, and you're thinking the goal is wide open and he's got to just make contact and the ball just goes past him. On another day, that would have gone in the back of the Watford net. So, you know, Watford, I think, can be considered fortunate that they didn't concede in that second half, because they really should have. But Watford's resilience, I thought, carried them to this point in very windy, rainy, and just abominable conditions, I think, at the Vic on this Wednesday night. Raining cats and dogs. I don't know how they even got this game played, but they did. And you really do have to look at the character of Watford, down 2-1 so quickly after they'd taken the lead. And within a 4-minute span, they were down 2-1. And for them to continue to find their way back into the game and get a quick response, literally 6 more minutes passed after West Brom scored 2 to make it 2-1 at that point. 6 minutes passed and boom, Watford scored. You wouldn't have seen this last season or the season before. The character of this side is building, and that really is what pleases me above all. Nate Chalabar returned to Vicarage Road for the first time, as best as I can tell. And this time he was in a West Brom shirt. And look, much was made, I think, about Valerian Ismail taking on his old team, the team he used to manage. But really, that was forgotten very quickly in this game, which was a very lively, entertaining game, considering the conditions it was played in. I thought tonight, Watford, again, they get a big A from me for character. Because I thought they were absolutely fantastic to come back and dig deep and also try to kick on and win. They gave it a hell of a go in the second half. The performance you really can't complain about, except for the silly mistakes, which they're going to tamp down on. They're making fewer and fewer of them. But, you know, again, players, like anyone else, we're all human beings and we'll make mistakes. You just can't make mistakes in the areas of the pitch where Watford made them tonight. Watford's 2 goals are absolute quality and class. West Brom's 2 goals were really born out of Watford mistakes. That's not to take anything away from West Brom. I thought their second goal was well executed, but it came off a mistake that happened from the Watford end. And so, those are the things. If Watford can cut down on making those kinds of mistakes, they will have a good, resolute defense, but it has to be a team-oriented defense. The one thing that would get you a little bit worried here, two things that would get you worried here. Ryan Porteous went down injured. I hope that he'll be back for the game against Leeds at Elland Road. If not, let's hope that he's not out for too long. And the other thing that would worry you is James Morris. James Morris, for me, has to be benched now. And Val did bench him after the Stoke game, where he was not very good. He didn't play for a number of weeks. Ken Sema went down injured, and so James Morris came back in. That's the reason why James Morris is in the side starting. And Jamal Lewis is not quite 100%, although Jamal Lewis was good tonight again when he came in for Watford. Really good player, Jamal Lewis. I like the way he's quietly fit in to this Watford team. But the thing for me is that James Morris now, who was, I thought, really good last season and very good against Queen's Park Rangers this season, and okay in terms of his play against Plymouth, has now started to kind of, I don't want to say downgrade, but he's just not quite up to the level. And you see it in the way he's playing. I don't know if the game has caught up to him in this sophomore go around, if you will, but there's just something that's not quite right with James Morris. And I'm not talking about as a physical fitness standpoint. I just don't think that, I think the game is a little bit ahead of him. And that's the only thing I can really say about that. And so that does concern me. And I think that Val has to sit him down here and put Jamal Lewis in. But the problem is Jamal Lewis is not 100% really. So you're going to have to ride with James Morris for at least a couple of weeks, because Ken Sema is going to be out for at least a couple more weeks, at least. So that's a tricky area I'd be concerned about. And Matty Pollock would be another player that I would be a little bit nervous about. It won't be the end of the world. Matty Pollock came in this game and I thought did okay. But if Porteous is out, I would rather see Sierralta fall back into that pairing with Wesley Hood in the central defense. And I would love to see TDB anchor with Loser. And then you could play the attacking midfielder. You could put Kone in there as an attacking midfielder and keep Tom Ince on the right side where he is, and you'd have Martins and you have Rajovic. And then you can switch the formation and do 4-4-2s, and you can have two up top. You can have Bio and Rajovic up top, and then you can have a 4-cross in the midfield, and you can mix and match. You can do triangle. You can do whatever you're going to do in that midfield, and you can have some good personnel there. You can have Asprilla still come off the bench, because I think that's the best. Look, Asprilla is brilliant off the bench. He's got to keep doing that. And I think Ngakia should stay as your right back to start with. I know there's lots of Watford fans that disagree with that. I think Ngakia played decently tonight, except for giving away the free kick. And I think Ryan Andrews coming off the bench is a good idea. I think it's a good idea for the way that Watford start these games. This is Ngakia's last chance as far as I'm concerned. And if he doesn't pan out this season, I think Watford have a decision to make. A decision, if I was in charge in that front office, I would make that decision if he doesn't pan out this season. But the bottom line is that in this game, Watford showed you character in a really blustery night against the West Brom side, who had been unbeaten previously in their previous 2 away games. Still looking for their first away win this season, West Brom, but they are a battling side, and they do put together some good moments, as they did on Wednesday night against Watford. Watford's character really did stand the test of time, and one thing I take out of the game once again is the character and the resiliency and the fighting spirit of this team. They are definitely playing for the shirt. This has been the YouOrns 10-minute take.